What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bridging the Geekdoms. I am your hostess with the mostest, Robert Slavinsky, and I'm on my own again today. I sure am on my own. All alone. All alone. I think we got a pretty good show for everybody today. As you probably saw the title, it's the Twitter mob versus James Gunn. But before we get into all that, some of our hot topics are going to be Marvel related. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is just getting hammered when it comes to reviews. We're also going to talk a little bit about some comments Kevin Feige made recently about the MCU and what to expect when it comes to the shows and stuff like that on Disney Plus. I think that's kind of interesting. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Flash trailer, which dropped right before the Super Bowl started on this past Sunday. So let's get into it, everyone. Let's do this. This is Bridging the Geekdoms. All right. What is going on, everyone? Hope you've had a good week so far. It's been an interesting one, definitely. I don't know if you guys caught any of my show earlier today, but I really dove into some of the SnyderVerse stuff when it comes to Jay Oliva. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it's been pretty crazy. Actually been very, very crazy lately. Okay, well, let's get into this. If you're new to the show, let me explain how this works. The first half, 20 minutes or so of the show is pretty much dedicated to a few hot topics, which we discuss. They sometimes consist of newsworthy items or hot takes or even reactions to trailers or something in that regard. But then after that, the second half of the show is dedicated to a main topic. This week's main topic is Twitter mob versus James Gunn and the DCU. So if you're watching, if you're checking us out live, make sure you drop a like, hit that share button, share this around to your friends, drop a comment on your thoughts on all of the topics that we're going to talk about here. So let's dive in. Let's get into this, guys. All right, let's take a look here. All right, let's talk about some Marvel stuff. Yeah, talk about some Marvel stuff. All right, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Ouch. I've been saying this. This is a movie that had to hit a home run immediately. It had to. Ryan Cinematics, DCU fan, what is going up? What is up, man? Glad you can join us. Yes, this is a movie that needed to hit a home run. Phase 4 was disappointing to say the least, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, the start to Phase 5, the real meat and potatoes of this new multiverse saga, had to start off with a bang, and it's starting with a whimper. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania has a 49% tomato meter. It has 200 reviews, and that's coming from obviously critics, not fans. The audience score has yet to go up. That will probably start being revealed over the next day or two, as really, I guess about an hour ago, 2 hours ago, it opened up, at least near me. There were some showings at like 4 or 5 o'clock today. So we're going to start seeing the general audience score pop up on here. And in typical fashion, I'm sure it's going to be higher than what the critics have put it. And you can almost always guarantee that if the critics have a low score, the audience score will be a bit higher and vice versa. It's just kind of how it works with Rotten Tomatoes, which is why I don't typically like to utilize Rotten Tomatoes, but this is starting to become a trend with Marvel, and it's a little worrisome if you ask me. The changes need made. We talked about this all last week. Last week was very much a show all about Marvel discussing why they need to have some big changes to stay relevant, to stay important. So that definitely is going to be a topic of discussion over the next few weeks. But I want to know if you're are you planning to go see Ant-Man Quantumania? I still want to see it, despite what we're seeing here. I still want to go see the film. I think it's going to be a fun time, but now I know to lower my expectations. Trooper Geo, what's up, man? You were on the you're hanging out with us earlier. Did you check out Cyberpunk anime? I actually didn't check out the Cyberpunk anime. After my show, I had to go get my car inspected, and then I got stuck on playing Halo Infinite. It's rare that I get a chance to play Halo Infinite, so whenever I get a couple hours to do that, I do that. But I am 100% going to check out Cyberpunk anime. You know what? I'll tell you this. I will watch at least some of it by next week, and I will have some thoughts on it for next week's show. But yeah, right now I have yet to check it out. I was going to. There's just not enough time in the day. There just isn't enough time in the day. I wish there was, but there just isn't. But I'm hoping I enjoyed as much as you did, Trooper, because it's been a while since I've gotten into an anime. I was really big into anime when I was in middle school and high school. Obviously, thanks to, in part, of Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z was a huge influence on my life growing up. So, and that kind of opened up the doorway to a lot of different animes for me. So, Trooper Geo, Halo Infinite is a game I need to go back to. You absolutely do. Look, I will say, when it launched, it was not a completed game, which is pretty typical nowadays for video games. But the story was great, and the mechanics and the system, the core of the game is phenomenal, and they just continuously build on top of that, tweaking it, fixing up the multiplayer a good bit. They now, have added Forge. Forge is in there, and now they have a playlist in multiplayer where they're taking custom Forge maps made by people and putting them into matchmaking, which is phenomenal. All good, man. Definitely check it out at some stage. It's an emotional roller coaster of a show, Trooper Geo, about cyberpunk anime. Hey, if anybody else is listening, watching, throw down in the comments if you checked out cyberpunk anime. Okay. So continuing talking about Marvel. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania just did terribly so far, at least with critics. We're going to see this week how it does with the general audience. But again, I said this had to be a movie that was big. And if it wasn't big, some big changes were going to come for Marvel because of it. And, believe it or not, it looks like those changes are going to come regardless of what happens with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So, taking a look here, Kevin Feige was talking with Entertainment Weekly this week, and he brings up, this is a quote from Kevin Feige. I do think of powerful aspects of being at Marvel Studios, having these films and shows hit the zeitgeist. And this is in response to a question about an SNL skit last week. It's harder to hit the zeitgeist when there's so much product out there and so much content, as they say, which is a word that I hate. But we want Marvel Studios and the MCU projects to really stand out and stand above. So people will see that as we get further into phase 5 and 6, the pace at which we're putting out the Disney Plus shows will change so they can each get a chance to shine. So it sounds like they're going to limit the amount of shows they're putting out on Disney Plus. Yes. Huge cheer. Very happy about that. You know why? Because quality over quantity. I talk about this all the time. I've been saying it for weeks, quality over quantity. And this is coming from Bob Iger. And we talked about this a little bit earlier today. But this is coming directly from Kevin Feige. He is already planning on doing that. And I think when they start to see things like Ant-Man and the Wasp struggle, you're definitely going to see how the quality is going to go up from this point. Obviously, they have things already in the in the bucket waiting to be released. You got the Marvels, you got Secret Invasion, you got what else? I know there's some other things I can't think of. Guardians of the Galaxy. Those things are already made, waiting to be released. But the things that are going to be made after that, I think there's going to be a lot more attention to detail and making sure that it's quality content. I recorded a great upcoming episode of the show on what 10 things make a great superhero movie. And hopefully I get that released early next week once I get it done edited. But it's so true that they're going to need to sit back and take a look at what makes this genre, these projects, great. And as soon as they do that, as soon as they can get back to that, that's when I think we're going to start seeing some great things come out of Marvel again. Because honestly, I don't think we've had anything great for a number of years. Infinity War was great. Endgame was good. But before that, Winter Soldier, maybe? The first Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the last time that they were really, truly great that wasn't Infinity War. So hopefully they get back to that. I really do hope that they will. And I believe that they can. I do. I truly believe they can. But with that, Kevin Feige has also revealed some pretty important information that can get you excited, despite the unfortunate views that people have right now on Ant-Man and the Wasp and how they're going to be slowing down production on a lot of things. He gave us some interesting news, some big things revealed just a couple days ago. Deadpool 3 confirmed to be rated R, which we already knew was going to be the case. Bob Iger, when this all started and the Fox thing came and they announced it, he was like, yeah, it's going to be rated R, of course. Kevin Feige, he says it's going to be the first rated R. And that's a key point. He's saying the first rated R Marvel film. I truly believe Blade's going to be rated R. I think the only way you can do a Blade movie properly in this day and age is doing rated R. Because if you don't, yes, I know the old Wesley Snipes ones weren't necessarily rated R. And I think in today's age, you need to push that bar a little bit. You need to differentiate some of this supernatural side of DC and even some of this crazier X-Men stuff and go a little hardcore with it. They already know how and when they'll introduce the mutants, which just do it already. There's been a lot of discussion lately. Patrick Stewart says he's on call. He's coming back as Xavier. Ian McKellen supposedly coming back as Magneto. We got Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine. Look, they were all great in their roles. I loved almost everything that they were in those roles. The problem is I want something new. I do. I truly want something new. I don't necessarily want to continuously see these characters portrayed like this because they don't necessarily fit in what they're doing. And they're kind of aged out of the roles at this point. If I want a Professor Xavier that's going to be able to be there for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I want a Magneto who's going to be a real threat and then a helping hand over the next 10, 15 years. So that's kind of what I'm disappointed about. Rebo Norton jumped on. I've seen the Cyberpunk anime. It left me in an emotional state of constant crying for 5 hours. I'm 28 and I never expected to be moved and emotionally affected by such a beautifully tragic story. That's crazy. You're the second person. Trooper Geo said that it was an emotional ride for him earlier today. So, I was all about watching this thing, but I'm not sure I want to get into an emotional state right now. But yeah, I when it comes to the X-Men, I just want new characters. I want them to recast and have fun. I get the Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds thing, bringing Wolverine back. And when you're messing with the multiverse, I guess you can play in the past and then eventually reintroduce mutants as different actors in the roles. Ryan Cinematics. I'm not interested in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I'm looking forward to seeing Kang the Conqueror, though. The only Marvel films I'm looking forward to is all the Avenger films and Loki. I get that. The Avenger films look good. I mean, I've heard that the guy playing King the Conqueror, I'm terrible with names right now. But He does Jonathan Majors, that he does a phenomenal job as Kang. I'm a huge Jonathan Majors fan. I tell you what, when I watched Lovecraft Country on HBO Max a couple years ago, whew, that was a hell of a show, and he was fantastic. Him and what's her face, a Black Canary. I can't remember her name. She was amazing in it too. Like those two are phenomenal actors, and you know, DC James Gunn needs to take note in that because he has I can't remember her name as Black Canary, and he needs to keep her in there because she's a damn good actress. And Jonathan Majors, I know that he signed up for multiple films and he's a big part of the whole Kang Dynasty thing, but I hope he sticks around in the MCU for a long time because he is a damn good actor. I cannot wait to see him in Quantumania. So after the mutant stuff, he also has stated that the story for Spider-Man 4 is already planned. So much for that the script is currently being worked out, which means they have a story, they have an idea, they got people getting together, the writer's room is starting to get everything down. I'm sure they have yet to hire or assign a writer yet, but maybe they have. We don't know. Again, this kind of falls in line with Sony. This is where it gets a little difficult because Sony does own Spider-Man and the rights to Spider-Man when it comes to films. So it's really interesting to see how this all plays out because we know that Sony is planning their own universe and we still have no clarification on how these universes coincide with one another. Having Tom Hardy's Venom pop up at the end of No Way Home, having Tom Holland pop up in a TV on the TV and the end of Venom 2, it's confusing to people. It is confusing to people. I truly believe that they should have just taken Andrew Garfield, talked to him, signed him up for a few more Spidey films, thrown him and Tom Hardy in the same universe, and just kept Tom Holland over in the Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think that would have been the best route. And I think that Sony would have benefited hugely off of that, as would Marvel and the fans. The fans would be eating mightily if they would have done that. And they may still do that. I don't know, but I hope they do, but I really don't think they'll do that. And then Kevin Feige has also said that there's going to be Fantastic Four is going to be huge for the MCU and news is coming soon. And when it comes to Fantastic Four, and when Kevin Feige says news coming soon, that could be 6 months from now because for him that's soon. But right now, I think that he needs to really hit everything really good with the casting of Fantastic Four. Trooper Geo, if I'm being honest, I haven't been keeping up with the MCU since around about Avengers 2. I was 8 when that came out. I've seen a few MCU films here and there, but I guess I'm just more of a DC guy. And I'm getting to DC here soon, man, so don't worry. And I get that. I do. You were 8 years old when Avengers 2 came out? Holy crap. You know how old you make me feel right now? But no, I get that. And everything going on with DC lately is just so disappointing for us DC fans. But we are definitely going to get into more DC stuff here soon, so don't worry. Yeah, but there's rumor right now going that April they're going to really hammer out and start the casting for Fantastic Four. That's the rumor going around the town right now. And if that's the case, they say Sue Storm's going to be the one that they cast first, and then they're going to cast around her. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Trooper Geo says, actually, no, my math was wrong. I was 10 when Avengers. Oh, you're still making me feel old, man. Math's never been my strong subject. Oh, man. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what everybody thinks about all of this going on with Marvel right now. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp that is just not trending very well right now. You have Feige who's saying, look, we're going to be changing the output when it comes to Disney Plus, but then he reveals some big things are in the works. Obviously, a lot of this we already knew, but it's nice to hear some clarification. So it's been a roller coaster of emotions when it comes to Marvel fans this week, I think. I really do. I think that's a good way to put it. All right. So let's move on To The Flash. The Flash trailer stole the show for the Super Bowl. It was the most watched and talked about, at least from a social media standpoint, when it comes to commercials released during the Super Bowl. I think that's crazy. I think that is a huge, huge, huge deal when it comes to to DC, because you got to remember they were hesitant on actually releasing much of any marketing at the Super Bowl for anything, and they decided to market the Flash. What's going on, Zeverfet? And when it comes to that, the fact that it was so talked about, so people got excited about it, that really bodes well for this June. I will say I was a little shocked that we saw so much Barry in it, but you can't necessarily have you can't market a Flash movie without having the Flash in it. And the fact that there's two of them in that movie, you're going to have a lot of them in it. But there was a lot of Batman as well, which I kind of figured was going to happen. I think they're really going to push the whole idea when it comes to Batman being in the actual movie. Trooper Geo, Marvel needs to take a long break. The MCU has become an oversaturated franchise that needs a break in order to properly figure out what it wants to do going forward. You know, I kind of take a look at Phase 4 as being that break for them. It seems like they were just putting out content just to put out content and trying to get people excited. So I'm really hoping that they took that time, and I really do hope that things are going to get better. I do. Because they're not going to take a break. They're not going to miss out on that money. Look, even though Ant-Man and the Wasp is currently, what is it? A 49% on Tomato Meter. You know that movie is going to make a minimum $500 million. Minimum. So you know it's still going to make money. They're still going to get money. They're not going to stop while their films are making money. And Trooper G says either that or make a new cinematic universe with new actors. I know they will never do that, but that would be the smart thing to do since they introduced multiverses in No Way Home. And really, they introduced multiverses more so in the Doctor Strange film. But regardless, besides that, they're not going to do that. I think that they're going to keep pushing. Rumor has it that they're going to go to a Phase 10 and possibly do a reboot at that point. Whether that's true, accurate, or if honestly, I haven't even looked into that at all. Really, I just kind of heard that in the Twitter sphere. It's probably something that like Mikey Sutton or Sill said, and it's complete bullshit because that's what scoopers do. But who knows? Maybe that is their plan. Maybe they're looking at, going to 10 phases and then rebooting and starting again. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, man, I need a drink. Tell you what, this new improved taste for Pepsi Zero Sugar is damn good. It actually tastes I think it tastes better than Pepsi. I'm getting off subject here. Anyways, so getting back into it, the Flash trailer, huge deal for DC. I want to know what you guys all thought of the trailer. What were your impressions of it? Because there was some issues with the VFX, and you're gonna have that again. The pandemic really hurt studios, and despite the fact that the Flash has been kind of in production in some form or fashion for the better part of 4 years now, it's a little worrisome that the VFX isn't better, but they've been tinkering with it and changing things constantly here and there. So this trailer also could have been made a year and a half ago. Like, that's the thing. It's a year and it's probably been a year and a half since this trailer was made. Maybe not as long, but I'm sure they've done a lot of cleaning up on the VFX since then. Zeverfet, if it tastes better, it can't be good for you. Well, it says 0 sugar, 0 calories. It's got to be good, right? I don't know. I mean, the fact that aspartame is in it, that's the big thing. The fact that I don't taste the aspartame. I hate aspartame taste. I hate that. I don't taste it at all. So, but you're probably right. It's probably not good for me. Trooper Geo 10, dude, that's crazy, man. I really want historical epics to make a comeback. Maybe I'm just sentiment for movies like Black Hawk Down, Kingdom of Heaven, Troy, Gladiator, but still, well, you're in luck. They're making a Gladiator 2. Ridley Scott is making Gladiator 2, so you're in luck. I still don't know how that's gonna be. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Those types of films, and you still have those filmmakers out there that are willing to do it. I mean, Ridley Scott tried to do it with Prometheus, and what was the that alien film that he did with that was the sequel to Prometheus. So he's tried to do it. You have James Cameron doing the avatars. You still have those epics that are being made. Now, historical epics, that's a little bit different. That was a time period type of thing. Like you take a look at the 2000s and even the late 90s, that was kind of the big thing for film. But right now, the big thing are superhero movies. It's all cyclical. We're gonna come back around. We're eventually gonna come back around and hit westerns again, and then it's gonna be sci-fi films, and then it's gonna be the historical epics, and then it's gonna be superhero again. It's all gonna go back around in some form or fashion. Just how long does it take to get there? That's to be seen. Some feel that the superhero genre is starting to die off right now. And that's a very good possibility that it could be when you take a look at things like this. But we'll see. We'll see. Can James Gunn save the superhero genre with the DCU? I mean, if all the hype that I'm hearing about the Flash is true, and this isn't James Gunn, I know that, but maybe the Flash saves the superhero genre. I saw a really funny TikTok today, speaking of the Flash, how they were able to basically match up like, a young boy with, crazy superpowers is mentored by a billionaire with technology and goes back to change things and screws up the multiverse. And it's like, this is the same thing as the No Way Home story. And it kind of is. It kind of is the same story as No Way Home. Maybe it'll be executed better than it. I'm not saying No Way Home was bad. I really enjoyed No Way Home, but maybe it could be better. Excuse me. Ryan Cinematics. I love every single shot of the Flash. I can see the slight issue with visual effects, but I still love it, and I am now looking forward to it more than ever. I'm with you on that. 100%. Look, a couple years ago, it's been a couple years, not. I was told, actually, I was shown an outline of the movie. And I know that it's probably changed a bit since that outline, but a lot of it kind of was hit. There's a lot of moments from that outline I saw that hit in the trailer. And I liked it. I liked what I saw when it came to to the outline, and the trailer kind of just hyped me up even more for it. So I definitely can't wait for that movie. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I do. I think it's going to be great. All right, man. So, Flash trailer. Yeah, let us know your thoughts. I want to know what you guys thought about it. Is it making you more excited? Speaking of it, real quick, I saw something on Facebook today or yesterday, and there's a guy who's like, "Look, even though it's all rumor that Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot isn't in the Flash, that's just rumor. They very well could be in that movie." I'm not counting out the fact that Gal Gadot could possibly be in it. She could. I don't think they've figured out what kind of Wonder Woman they're going to have in the DCU. However, Henry Cavill, despite the fact that he supposedly shot a cameo for it a couple months back, excuse me, I don't see him being in the movie, especially now that they've officially stated that they're going to have a new Superman. They're not going to announce a new Superman in December and then in June Henry Cavill pop up as Superman only to have a new Superman a year later or 2 years later or what have you. Doesn't make any sense. Even though it's same thing, DC did it first. Yeah, I guess. I mean, we got to remember there's a lot of people who talk with one another between the companies. There's all that stuff that went on behind the scenes with what Snyder was planning and how a lot of it kind of came to fruition over at Marvel with Infinity War and Endgame. So that's interesting. I don't know. I don't really care who did it first. Just make it a good movie. That's all I'm asking. Just make a good movie. That's all I want. That is all I want. All right. So let's get into this here. The main topic of today, which is Twitter mob versus James Gunn and the DCU. Now, earlier today, I did a quick little show where I discussed what Jay Oliva said about it. And I'm telling you, if you haven't, check out that video. If you don't have time, go find Jay Oliva on Twitter, see what he said, because he said a lot of things that make sense. But there's people who are so upset about James Gunn saying wacky hashtag for sell ZSJL to Netflix, because it is a wacky hashtag. It's a wacky concept and idea. Look, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to yuck on your yum. I don't want to get you upset. However, what you have to realize is that this is a business. It's not simply to cater to a sect of fans. They need to make money. They want to make money. You know, when it comes to the SnyderVerse, if Warner Brothers truly believe that they can make hundreds of millions and possibly billions of dollars off of that story, do you really think that they would not make it? Because it's a business. In 2017, absolutely. When Jeff Johns was running stuff and they were just making backstabbing and doing a whole bunch of dirty shit behind the scenes, yes, absolutely. I could see that they would not make it, despite the idea and fact that it could make hundreds of millions of dollars. But David Zaslav coming in, sitting there, taking a look at what he has. They're smart. They have smart people working for them who can tell them, hey, you're going to make money or you're not going to make money on this. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. I don't know. But I have this here. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because there's a few reasons why this current campaign, this current push to restore the SnyderVerse is not going to be successful. There was a very clear goal with the Snyder Cut. And it was simple. Release the Snyder Cut. Very simple. A film that we knew that was all but completed. We just wanted that released. And Warner Brothers at the time went above and beyond, giving $70 million to Zack Snyder to complete it to the way he wanted it. And then he snuck and added some things to it that he probably shouldn't have done. But he did. Again, they went above and beyond what we asked for. But it was a simple ask. It was a simple, this is what we want. But let me ask you, when you see the hashtag restore the SnyderVerse, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to you? Does it mean Zack Snyder comes in and does his last 2 Justice League films? Does it mean we get 2 Justice League films, David Ayer's Suicide Squad, Ben Affleck's Batman, and whatever else was possibly planned, Cyborg, let's say the original Flash script? Or does it mean Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher back as the characters? Like, what does it mean to you? Because I can tell you, all these people that are on Twitter, all these people who are pushing this hashtag on February 14th, 2/14, which was a big day. I get it. A big day for the SnyderVerse, for the SnyderVerse fandom. I get that. And it should be a day of celebration of what we got. That. Of course, I think we need to just come up with one day as a celebration at this point. I don't think we should be celebrating multiple times a year. Maybe March 18th should be the celebration. That's just me throwing it out there. But I get the idea of doing an event. But the problem is this. You have somebody here saying, despite what the Flash movie does to end the SnyderVerse prematurely, there are still quite a few more stories left to tell with the universe. At Netflix, Ayer Cut, Batfleck, Man of Steel 2, and of course 2 ZSJL sequels. And then in a completely different conversation over on the other side of Twitter that I was having, I was trying to explain to people like why the Snyder Cut being released and that movement is so much different than the SnyderVerse movement. There's a guy that goes, no one is saying every single project needs to be made. Most people would be content with Snyder ending his story, JL 2 and 3. 2 movies. Now, if they wanted to give us Ben Affleck movie, nobody would complain. 3 movies seems like a pretty feasible thing. And that's from Jonah Galagos Music. And he and I, or she, I don't know what it is. They and I have been going back and forth quite a bit over the last few days on Twitter because calling me out for bullying and I'll say, like, a few days ago I wasn't having it. I probably should have stayed off Twitter because I was just saying things and doing things I probably shouldn't have been saying or doing. But my main goal is to just try and help people understand, like, this push. There's no goal. There's no clear goal. Even if Netflix wanted to do it, you know what'll happen? They can come and say, we worked out a deal. We're doing one movie with Zack Snyder to finish it. And people are going to get pissed off still. People will still no, we wanted this. While there'll be a few people over there, they're like, oh, that's fine. That's the problem. There needs to be an understanding. If you want a movement, no movement can ever be successful unless you have a clear goal. And there's no clear goal here. This whole idea of going after James Gunn without a clear goal. This whole idea of pushing back on the DCU without a clear goal is asinine. It makes no sense. I would love to see the completion of Zack Snyder's story. I would. But it's probably not going to happen. Why? Because Netflix and Warner Brothers has no idea what the hell we want. And not saying that they would even listen to what we're saying, because again, with the SnyderVerse or the Snyder Cut, things were vastly different. You had HBO Max that needed content. You had the pandemic, which just destroyed production for so many projects. So they needed something that they could get out relatively quickly. It wasn't just because the fans were asking for it. I can say with 99.9% certainty, had there not been a pandemic, we would never have gotten the Snyder Cut. At least we wouldn't have gotten it at this point. The SnyderVerse, and remember, Snyder Cut was only $70 million, roughly, give or take. $70 million to finish that. The SnyderVerse is going to be hundreds of millions of dollars. So people can continue to push. They want to continue to push, that's fine. Go ahead and push all you want. Will Rollins, who I've had on my show in the past, but he and I kind of see things a little bit differently now. He goes, why are so many people fixated on turning what was written as a live action movie into animation? That's a compromise. It's completely against the artistic integrity we've all fought for. It's like buying a Ferrari, paying it off to have it swapped like with a bike. All or nothing. Geez. And he's replying to what Chris Wong, I don't know if you've ever checked out Ping Pong Flicks. It's not a bad show. I've checked it out here and there. But he says, Jay Oliva basically reiterates why live action DC Universe on Netflix isn't happening because licensing out DC characters in production is expensive. In my opinion, this is Chris Wong speaking, in my opinion, animated on HBO Max is possible without licensing and it's cheaper production-wise. But James Gunn would have to okay everything when it comes to DC. Shrugs. So, first off, Will Rollins, I want to talk to you real quick. All right, man? Here's the deal. You sit there and say, that's a compromise. It's completely against the artistic integrity we all fought for. You want to know what else is against that artistic integrity that we all fought for? Hashtagging fire James Gunn. Bullying a studio because they're not making what you want. That goes against artistic integrity. Why don't people understand that? I don't get it. Be happy, be honorable. Be respectful. Whining children, whiny little babies don't get what they want. And that's what this fandom, a section of this fandom has sounded like. I don't know. What do you guys think? I know there's a few of you still watching. Let me know what you guys think right now, because it comes down to this. It comes down to this. If we don't all get in line and say, we want this, and it's something that is reasonable. You can't sit there and say, we want 6 movies and a television show, or we want 5 movies. Like, that is unreasonable. We have to have a reasonable ask. The Snyder Cut was a reasonable ask because what we asked for was simply to release what Zack created. We didn't necessarily need them. We were okay if they would have released everything with storyboards and animation not being completed. We would have been fine with that. But Zack in the studio worked it out and went overboard and gave us more. With the SnyderVerse, some want 2 movies, some want 5 movies, some want Man of Steel 2, some want just the actors back, some want this, some want that. And no studio is going to want to touch that, because regardless of what they do at this point, they can't win. They just can't. It's impossible for them to win. Ryan Cinematics. To me, restore the Snyderverse means finish the franchise. It's either 1, do part 1 and part 2 and done, or 2, finish part 1 and 2 and make Batman film, make Man of Steel 2, and make Legacy franchise. And that was 1 of 2 of what you're trying to say. But I'll touch on that real quick. See, I get that. You're sitting here saying that it's either this or that. But you have to have one goal. You have to be willing to compromise. And I'm not saying that doing any of this is going to get us the Snyderverse, because honestly, I think 2 years ago, a year ago, if we would have all been on the same page a year ago, because I've been saying this for that long, if we were all on the same page, we would have something by now. But Warner Brothers didn't know what to do. Walter Hamada had no idea what to do. And it shows by what he was trying to do. It shows what he was trying to do with the DC universe. He was trying to shoehorn in Snyder-esque material. The original ending to the Flash movie, which I'm not going to bring it up and say what it is here, just in case they actually add it to the film, but it had Barry needing to do something that connected to the Snyderverse. That wasn't restoring the Snyderverse, but it was keeping it close by. People would have been mad about that still. And to me, it's kind of humorous, because what we're getting now, despite all of the fighting, all of the bullying, all the pushing and hatred that a portion of this fandom has done over the last 2 years, we were this close to having the Snyderverse within a grasp. Not saying that it would have been continued, but we would have had Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, and so on and so forth. But because of all the hatred and bullying and toxicity, David Zaslav came in and was like, we got to start fresh. We got to do something different. And that's what we're getting now, which I'm okay with. I'm looking forward to seeing what James Gunn can do. I'm excited for his lineup that he has revealed so far. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be different. And that's what I'm excited about. But a lot of this falls on the fans. You sit there and do these Twitter campaigns against James Gunn and the DCU when it's not James Gunn's fault. It's not. It's yours. It's the fandom's fault for not having a clear goal, for allowing the toxicity and bullying to go on. And again, those of you who are watching, you may not be the ones who are toxic. You may not be the ones who are bullying. You may not be the ones who are using hashtag fire James Gunn. But I can tell you, because of that, it was not a good look. You think that acting like this or acting like that, let's say Superman Legacy comes out and it bombs. Let's say the Waller series comes out and it bombs. Creature Commandos bombs. All this stuff bombs. And David Zaslav looks at James Gunn and says, you either got to fix this or you're gone. Do you think James Gunn is going to fix it in the way that the Snyder fans want? No, because they were calling for his head. And then even then, if you take a look at it, if David Zaslav does fire James Gunn, you think the next person they bring in, we're not going to see hashtag fire this person? Because we would. And that is the problem. You can sit there and act like you're honorable because you're hashtagging sells SnyderVerse to Netflix or what have you. But are you really? I don't know. It's crazy. It is crazy. Let me know your thoughts on all this. Like I said, this is a very touchy subject for a lot of people. I try to talk about it on social media, on Twitter, and I just get so much pushback. I get so much hatred spewed my way simply because I'm telling people, like, look, you're going about it the wrong way. You're going about it the wrong way. Then you have people who are like, well, if Netflix won't do it, maybe Universal will, maybe Amazon, maybe Apple. Everything, it's all the same when it comes to any studio. No one wants to spend that hundreds of millions, possibly billions of dollars for something that won't be successful. That's a very good possibility that could happen. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I got to put this up here. So I'm kind of pumped. I did an episode. I released it, what was it? Last week before, something like that. Showed Warner Brothers have released the Snyder Cut. It's only like a 2 or 3 minute long, little episode I threw up on my podcast feed. I threw it on YouTube, and it's got some big plays. Some big plays on the podcast, on the YouTube. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out, because it does. I mean, I kind of dive into what we talked about here a little bit, but a little more than that, because while I absolutely loved the Snyder Cut, it's a question that needs to be asked. Should they have even released it? Hindsight's always 2020, and maybe there's a reason why they shouldn't have released it. Or maybe, yeah, it should have been released. So go check out that video. Or if you are a podcast listener, go over there. But that Jonah Gallegos music, yet again, always commenting on my stuff. The fact you even ask this is ridiculous. Like I said, this person and I have been going back and forth on things for the better part of a week or two now. It's nuts, because literally anything I say, they're just all over me. And it's kind of tough to get your point across when that kind of stuff happens, for sure. Yeah, seeing some more things starting to pop up on Twitter here about Quantumania, and that's not good. It's not looking good. Ryan, there's your second part. Finally, we've been waiting for that. So your first part was about Restore the Snyderverse, what it means to you. 2 of 2. I love the Snyderverse DC films, and I'm looking forward to a DC universe. So if I was not going to get a completion continuation of the DCU, I choose a reboot. The toxic fans ruined it for me. And that's where I'm at, Ryan. That's where I'm at. I feel being a DC fan is not fun right now. It's not fun. And it's not because of James Gunn. It's not because of what he's doing and what's coming. It's because they've beaten this bullying and toxicity for the Snyderverse so much, and I can't take it. Same thing happened with Star Wars not too long ago for me. I am a huge Star Wars fan. For a number of years, I had a Star Wars show, a Star Wars podcast that I was doing called Shooting the Sith. I still do it here and there, but the toxicity, the hatred, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of the sequels. The sequels were not great, but I could have pushed on had there not been so much hatred and animosity towards Lucasfilm and Disney and Star Wars. And so I haven't done the show much. I am looking forward to Mandalorian, though. Mandalorian Season 3. I can't wait. Said it earlier. Filoni, Favreau, they're doing the Lord's work over there. They really are. It's phenomenal. Yeah, there's some really clips of Ant-Man and the Wasp are popping up online now. People are, oh man. Oh, I look, hey, we got some breaking news. On Twitter, J.J. Abrams' Justice League Dark series has reportedly been canceled, coming from ScreenRant.com. So let's take a look at that. Let's see. Show on HBO Max has been reportedly canceled for several years. They've been attempting to bring the Justice League team or Justice League Dark team to life in live action. Let's see. While the Constantine reboot, Madam X series lost their spots on HBO. Hollywood Reporter reveals that HBO Max has seemingly scrapped Justice League Dark. So it's Hollywood Reporter saying this, not Screen Rant. At the time of this story's publication, HBO Max, Warner Discovery, Abrams, or anyone at Bad Robot have not commented on the report. That's disappointing. I really want to see Justice League Dark, and I think J.J. Abrams could have done pretty well with it, but obviously now with them doing a Swamp Thing movie, he's a big part of the Justice League Dark, and we got the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie being written right now. Kind of hard to believe that J.J. Abrams was going to get a say. You know what's crazy about this? What's really crazy is they paid Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams a shit ton of money. Let's see what it is. It was crazy. Exclusive deal. J.J. Abrams signs exclusive deal worth $250 million. And this was September 12th, 2019. You sit there and think about all the things that have come out since 2019 with J.J. Abrams' name on it for Warner Brothers. There's not much. There isn't much. Yeah. That's real interesting. I wonder what it is. See if I can find what he's done at Warner Brothers. So let's kind of pull up his IMDb here. Since 2019. A video game, Little Voice. I have no idea what that was on. Final Flight, Challenger Final Flight. That was Netflix, wasn't it? Whoops. Yeah, that was a Netflix thing. Lovecraft Country, I know that he was a producer on. Lizzie's Story. That was Apple TV. UFO. That was not anything. Westworld, he was executive producer, but that was before the 2019. They gave him $250 million in 2019, and he's done absolutely nothing. Nothing at Warner Brothers. That's insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, breaking news during the show. Breaking news. Justice League Dark series from J.J. Abrams is officially canceled for HBO Max. Yeah. Ooh, this isn't good. Nerdrotic, sitting in an empty theater for Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. Ooh, that's rough. That is rough. Ryan Cinematics, where the heck did the money go? We all wonder, like David Zaslav came in and was like, Warner Brothers go broke. That's why. Because they give J.J. Abrams all this money and he did nothing. He did absolutely nothing to bring money to Warner Brothers. It's insane to me. That's not to say that we couldn't see things coming out in the next couple years that he's involved with, but there's really nothing. That's crazy to me. Absolutely nuts. Man. I can't, I don't know. Whatever. I just watch Warner Brothers stuff. I just watch their stuff. I don't know. Anyways, I think we're gonna call it a day here, guys. I think this was a heck of an episode. I want to thank Ryan, Cinematics, Trooper Geo, Zever Fett, Rebo Norton, all of you guys. Thank you so much for jumping in. Even if it's just one comment, even if it's one like, a share, it goes a long way. So thank you so much for that, because I love it. I love interacting with everybody. And hopefully, next week Ken will be back. At least next week he'll be back. I don't know if he'll be back long term. We're hoping he is, but he should definitely be on this show next week. So I'm looking forward to that. But make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe. If you haven't yet, you can scan that QR code right on the screen that you see right now. That'll take you to our link tree. That'll give you our email address, our social media handles, all of that, so you can find us all there. One thing that I do ask is start emailing us your questions. Start emailing us some things that you want us to talk about on the show. It'll help us have our main topic, because the main topic is not always something that's going on at that moment. Sometimes it's just something that interests us. The hot topics are always for current news and ongoings. But yeah, email us if you want a topic. If you want us to speak on a topic, email us, please. Oh, man. This was a show. This was a good show, guys. Thank you again so much. You can find us on all the podcatching apps. The big ones, at least, you can find us. So make sure you go check us out there. Again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. And with that said, I'll talk at all of you later.